In this video, we'll finish learning Hacer. By the end of the video, you should plan to be able to write down a list of all the important conjugations of Hacer categorized by scene. In most verb shops, the imperfect tense is behind the counter, whereas the preterite tense is in the merchandise area. However, Hacer is a restaurant, so it doesn't really have a merchandise area. Instead, it has an area of tables where people sit down and eat. Joel and his friends go over to the tables and they hear some thumping noises. On the tables, the hogs have fallen out of chutes from the ceilings, and they're now fully cooked and almost ready to eat, with an apple in each hog's mouth. Following the directions, Joel picks up some sauce and garnish, and he spends about 5 minutes carefully decorating his hog, hoping that it'll look nice. When he's finished with this, dinner is ready to eat. "Wow," says Joel. "I did that myself? That wasn't hard at all. Making dinner was very easy." Joel's word for I did, or I made, is hice, which sounds kind of like easy, but it's spelled Hice. But then Joel looks over at the lizard. He's amazed to see that although the lizard spends only a few seconds throwing the garnish and sauce onto the hog, the lizard's hog somehow looks even better than Joel's. "He's so good at that," says Joel. "He made his dinner even faster than I did." The lizard's word for he made or she made is hizo, kind of like he's so. So try to remember hice and hizo. Kind of like in tener we had tuve and tuvo, or in estar we had estuve and estuvo. So hice for I made, and hizo for he or she made. Meanwhile, Ser enters the scene and shouts, "Remember to give me some of the food!" But as she comes in, she knocks over a platter with a spare cooked hog on it, spilling food all over the chairs, the floor, and herself. Joel is angry at this. "Stop," he shouts. "Cease and desist." He's shouting in his mischievous, formal voice. He says, "Look what you did. While we were making very nice meals, you just made a big mess." The word for you did is hiciste, with the stressed syllable cease, like cease and desist. Now, what about the pandas? This is a bit disturbing. When the panda's hog emerges from the chute, the pandas freeze with their mouths hanging open. One of them finally utters, "Our hog, it's breathing." Joel looks at the panda's hog. It seems to be lying motionless, but the apple in its mouth is the giveaway. The hog's breath can be seen on the apple, slowly moving it back and forth. "Look, Ser," says Joel. "You can see air on the apple in the panda's hog's mouth. There's something very wrong here." Now think about that phrase, see air on. The word hicieron means they did or they made. So if you associate see air on with the panda's hog, you'll remember hicieron. Now Joel looks around at the rest of the hogs. He comes to the conclusion that all of the hogs are breathing. "What have we done?" he says. The lizard feels the hog's necks to see if there's a pulse, and he shakes his head no. The hogs are indeed dead. Joel is a bit relieved, and he says, "I guess the air just makes it seem like the hogs are alive. They aren't really breathing." The word hicimos, with the stressed syllable seem, means we made or we did. This is associated with everybody's hogs. So just to review this scene, Joel is hice, the lizard is hizo, Ser is hiciste, the pandas are hicieron, and everybody together is hicimos. Let's practice these 5 words a bit. So we're just going to use each one with the direct object lo. So to say I did it, you say lo hice. To say he or she did it, it's lo hizo. To say you did it, it's lo hiciste. They did it is lo hicieron. And we did it is lo hicimos. You might recognize something familiar about hiciste, hicieron, and hicimos. They're very similar to the equivalent words in ir's closet. Remember fuiste, fueron, and fuimos. Hiciste rhymes with fuiste. Hicieron rhymes with fueron. And hicimos rhymes with fuimos. Meanwhile, the words fui and fue from ir are extremely irregular, so they don't match the hice, hizo pattern. Now, in conversations, you'll want to be able to think of these words quickly. Make sure you have the iste strongly associated with you, or the second person. And you want to have eron strongly associated with they. And then, of course, imos should be strongly associated with we. Pretend that you're watching the pandas going various places and doing a bunch of different things. As they do these things in your imagination, try to narrate their story in the past tense using fueron, they went, and hicieron, they did. To make it fun, you can pretend to use the voice of a spy who's reporting on each thing they do, but in very vague terms. For example, they went to some place, they did something, they went to another place, they did something else, now they went home. So that would be fueron a algún lugar, hicieron algo, fueron a otro lugar, hicieron algo más, ya fueron a casa. Make sure to imagine the pandas the whole time and associate these words, especially the eron sound, over and over with them. Next, you're going to imagine yourself doing those same things along with Joel. So this is going to be the we did and we went. Narrate each thing using fuimos and hicimos. So think we went and we did. Fuimos a algún lugar. Hicimos algo. Fuimos a otro lugar. Hicimos algo más. Ya fuimos a casa. So this is a form of practice that you can do as much as you want, just using your imagination and a very limited vocabulary, but trying to associate the endings of these words, imos, eron, and iste, with the appropriate person. Let's also look at a couple more examples of these words. He did what he had always wanted. So you'll hear, él hizo lo que siempre había wanted.
Él hizo lo que siempre había querido.
I did what I had always wanted. Yo hice lo que siempre había wanted.
Yo hice lo que siempre había querido.
They did what they had always wanted. Ellos hicieron lo que siempre habían wanted.
Ellos hicieron lo que siempre habían querido.
Now let's move on to the future tense. Joel and his friends are horrified by what happened in the restaurant. They refuse to eat the hogs, and they decide to go home and make their own dinners. As they leave through the front door, Joel tells the pandas, "I'll make dinner for all of us at home." As he says this, he actually gets kind of excited about it because he's so hungry. So he says, "Hooray! I'll make dinner at home." His word for I'll make or I'll do is haré, kind of like hooray. Meanwhile, the lizard says, ra. He is the lizard, after all. His word is hará. Based on these words, we also have haremos for we'll do or we'll make, harán for they'll do or they'll make, and harás for you'll do or you'll make. If you want an extra mnemonic for harás, imagine that Hacer comes out and tries to harass them into staying and making more food here. Joel says, "You'll do that, we'll go home." So you'll do is harás. But instead of going straight home, Joel and his friends go to the side of the store and check out the wood pile that fuels the machines inside. They observe that this wood pile is sitting next to an air conditioning unit, which keeps the building cool when the wood burns too hot. For the nerds in the audience, the air conditioning unit will help you remember that the technical term for the would forms of a verb are officially known as the conditional forms. The word for I would do, or he would do, or she would do, is haría. In case you haven't figured it out yet, ría is always the stressed syllable for the would version of any verb. And of course, hacer is no exception. However, you may have noticed that these words are shorter than normal. Most conditional words put ría at the end of the infinitive, like estaría. That would make the conditional form of hacer, hacería. Just like the future tenses of these words would put re at the end, like haceré. But hacer is used so often that Joel always shortens it. The future tense is not haceré, but just haré. And the conditional is not hacería, but just haría. Let's practice these a little bit. How would you say, I'll do something? It would simply be, haré algo. For they would do something, you would say, harían algo. You'll do something is harás algo. And we would do something is haríamos algo. Next, let's go to the backyard. Sarah's hogs are kept in a sty in the backyard. This makes the subjunctive versions of hacer very easy. Just think hog with a silent H. We have haga, hagas, and hagan. They all have the stressed syllable ag, like hog with a silent H. The longer word hagamos has a stress on the middle syllable, so that may take a little more practice. But the subjunctives are haga, hagas, hagan, and hagamos. I recommend trying these words out in this sentence structure. I hope that he does something. I hope que haga algo. Now practice exchanging haga for other subjunctive forms of hacer. I hope that we do something is I hope que hagamos algo. And I hope that they make something is I hope que hagan algo. Of course, this also works in our emotional version of subjunctive when we express emotion about something. For example, how nice that they're doing this is que bueno que hagan esto. I don't like that they're doing me favors would be no, I like que me hagan favores.
No me gusta que me hagan favores.
The first person plural version, hagamos, is often used as a sort of imperative. Let's make a deal would be hagamos un deal.
Hagamos un trato.
There's another very common imperative as well. Beside the building, on the side where we normally have a moving sidewalk, Joel discovers how Hacer powers the restaurant. An ox has been enslaved by Hacer, walking on the moving sidewalk as a treadmill. The ox is working very hard, and its movement creates enough energy to power the machines in Hacer. If the ox ever gets tired or tries to stop, Hacer gets angry. She says, "Do the work." Her word for do, as an imperative, is as, which sounds like a cross between ass and ox. This is how you order someone to do something. Do the work is haz el trabajo. Now let's look at the unconjugated versions of hacer. On the roof is a giant landing pad for helicopters which deliver hogs to the restaurant. The giant H on the roof represents the word hecho. This is the participle of hacer. For example, I have done it is lo he hecho. And they have done the work is han hecho el trabajo. Let's look at a fairly complicated example of this. If you're making yourself do something or making yourself into something, you'll use hacer. For example, making yourself a friend would use the words hacer and amigo. This next sentence example is she had made herself a good friend, but it's literally she herself had made very friend. Ella se había hecho muy amiga.
Ella se había hecho muy amiga.
Now, hanging from one side of the store is a bell, which looks exactly like the bell from Hacer's Apple store. Normally, people are expected to ring this bell at the end of a pleasant visit. At Hacer, the word was siendo. But here, the word is haciendo, based on hacer instead of ser. In both cases, the stress is on end, siendo and haciendo. For example, to say I am doing it, you could say lo estoy haciendo. We'll see more examples involving hecho and haciendo before long. For now, Joel and his friends are going to leave Hacer and eat dinner at home.